So I was thinking about this the other day, that how the ego and the superego are basically function the same way. Okay, they both have the same functions, and that is to keep the authentic being asleep. Let's just put it that way. The authentic self, soul, whatever it is, asleep. And the ego becomes one's best friend. And so does the superego. And the superego is culture. The inner ego, I'm not sure what that is. I mean, again, it's very hard to point exactly at what is culture. It's a collective word, so it's hard to say this is culture, that is culture. It's very abstract. But there's such a thing as culture and such a thing as an ego, and it's hard to say what is the ego essentially. And I think people have been discussing this for a very long time, and yet we do not know. Again, it still amazes me how we wake up in our day, I'm just saying your average Joe, we go about our business not even being aware that there is an ego, that we even have a mind in the first place. We are so well convinced by the ego, or by something, or by the superego, by the collective, or by culture, that there is nothing fishy going on every single day. Like there's nothing to see here, just keep moving along, or whatever it is. But for myself, it's a phenomenon. I'm amazed. I mean, I'm perplexed by having a voice inside the head, right? Or having certain type of perceptions on reality, or reality tunnels, and I wake up in those reality tunnels. Like, what is driving there? What is simulating that, right? What is often helping me put on the mask? What is often helping me or assisting me to keep distracted from my own discomforts, right? Or the places that I don't want to accept, the parts of myself that I don't want to accept, or I don't want to look at. What is doing? How is that working? How's it operating? What is it that's suppressing us? There seems to be a gatekeeper of some sort. Right? There seems to be some kind of security guard here that's going on, or some kind of mechanism, or some kind of program, or something or other, right? And yet we are none the wiser. We are it's just for myself. It again, I mentioned this before in previous talks, how little death is discussed in culture and society. That one day you will be dead, right? And your existence as you know it will be finished, will be over and done with. Again, we're never taught about this at school. We're never taught about, or never spoken about. Yes, people have been dying around us all the time. Everybody that has been in history over 100 years ago is basically dead, but yet we don't talk about it. And so it's kept under wraps. And so much is kept under wraps. And it's amazing how much it takes, how much distraction it takes, how much sleep it takes, how much control it takes, how much influence, obedience it takes to keep this all under wraps. Okay? And so, coming back again, that the ego soothes oneself in a sense from the truth. It distracts oneself from the truth, the authentic self, let's say. Okay? And so does culture. So does the collective, the ego, what am I saying? The superego. Both are the same. Both are distractions from one's own self-denial, soul denial, let's say. It's both the same. And, I was thinking this the other day, that the people that are somewhat in charge or direct the flow of culture to some degree, the ones who manipulate, the magicians in a way, if you will. Those folk, I feel sometimes when they have their meetings, their board meetings, they sit around and they talk about how they are the opiate for the masses, right? How they, in other words, are the biggest helpers, assisters, supporters of the human being from realizing their potential, from realizing their true self. And in other words, because what they're saying, I think sometimes they say, well, if the individual wanted to really find out about their true self, there's nothing we could do about it. Just like Christoph in the Truman Show says when he's being interviewed, and they say to him like, well, Truman, I mean, is there just no ways he can escape? And Christoph says, no, that's not true. If he was absolutely determined to, at all costs, to break free of the Truman Show, he could do it. There's nothing that I could do to hold him back. If his will was strong enough, and his confidence was strong enough, there's nothing I could do to hold him back. It's as simple as that. No matter how many tricks in the books, I can't, because there's something of the human soul, but it's not what he's saying, but this is what I'm elaborating on, is that there's something in the human spirit, the human will, the human passion, the human strength, that can overcome all of the shackles, all of the imprisonment. There's something about the human spirit that cannot be chained, cannot be governed, if it doesn't want to be. Cannot be. Its force is too strong. And again, so how does this tie in? Is that Christoph feels that until Truman wants to decide to leave the Truman Show and is uncomfortable enough, he designs this utopia for Truman. Everything Truman wants, in a sense, is provided for Truman. All the distractions, all that which is Maya, all that which is false, right, is supplied for Truman. All his creature comforts, he's in a world which is a paradise in a sense. Okay? And that's what Christoph says. I'm like his father. I raised him, I care for him, I look after him. I mean, I've never abandoned him, I've never left him. And I've given him, he's a star to the world. He's a celebrity. He's loved by the world. I've given him that opportunity. And so when, the people who influence cultural opinions will dominate them or manipulate them or something like that, and the people that pull and drive culture, when they're sitting around, they're saying that we are doing a very good job of supplying the necessary reality, or whatever it is, stage, for the individual to not wake up. We are sedating them, because the thing is that they don't want to wake up. They're not ready to wake up. And the thing is that it's painful for them if they are not waking up and they're just being benign. They're not doing anything. They're not motivating, they're not growing, and that's a very, very painful existence. There's a lot of suffering involved there, because essentially the soul wants to grow, right? It has a destiny, it has a potential to fulfill, it has a purpose, and that's the part it needs to take. And by them, by those people who do not wish to take this route, are in tremendous limbo, tremendous confusion, tremendous suffering. They have nothing to draw on. They have no source of inspiration and motivation and meaning to draw on, right? They got no roots to to be in the ground that can hold themselves up, they can stand strong, they can stand firm, they got no confidence, they got no self-esteem, because true self-esteem, true self-confidence comes from one's own self-worth, internally, not from other people, and so they don't have that, right? They don't have a connection to nature anymore. They don't have a connection to ceremony, or to the stars, or the moon, or the planets, or the seasons, or to the animals, right? They don't have that connection. They don't have the inspiration of intuition coming through anymore. They're disconnected from the intuition. And so they lost at sea. And they lost at sea. And so what we do is we're a lighthouse. And we say, come this way. Come this way. Come to these shores. Right? Come to these shores and we will help you out. We will fill that void. You see? I'm saying this is the cultural influences, the magicians, whatever you want to call it. Come this way and we will put your mind at ease. We'll put your being at ease. We have all the tools to do it. We are very specialized. In fact, we've been doing this for a very long time. We know exactly what we're doing. You're in safe hands here. So come. You know. And you'll be nurtured and you'll be nursed and you'll be taken care of. You'll be given the direction. You'll be given a sense of purpose and meaning. You'll be given things to do with your time. You'll be taken care of. We'll give you the tools to feel like you're somebody very special. You know, we'll give you the social medias to do it. We'll give you the masks to keep you away from the truth that you really lost at sea, and that you've disembarked on an island that is actually filled with which is devouring, you know, or something or other, which is a nightmare in a way. But we'll still keep you asleep from that reality that you took the wrong turn and that you're in the wrong direction. But don't worry, we will comfort you that you're on the right track, that you've made the right move, and other people will do it, because everybody will be on the same island together, and they'll all be in it together. So you won't be alone. You will have the crowd. You'll have the collective, and you'll work with the collective, and you'll fight with the collective, and you'll play with the collective, you know. And from our side, we will toss a bone to the collective every now and again. You know, we'll give you something to do. We'll give you something to argue about. We'll give you something to fight over or to work for, whatever it is, you know. And so you'll be kept very busy. You'll be kept very, very busy, very distracted, until the day you die, basically. You know, and so they're sitting around mind you, the fine print. I mean, you know, there's a lot of fine print in joining the island. I mean, joining, you know, this island, the cultural island, let's say, you know, the collective island. There's a lot of huge fine print, obviously, which you know, one doesn't even bother to even know that exists at this fine print. Yeah, it's a great trick. It's a real great trick. It really is. And so, coming back, so then there's the ego as well. That on the personal level, the ego and the superego are almost again like the same thing. It seems to be that there's on a micro level there's the personal ego, and then on the macro level there's the superego. But they're of the same nature. It's of the same force. It's of the same energy. It's of the same makeup. It's of the same structure. You know, it's so the one is internal and the other is external. But they're both of the same nature. And if you want to call that the darkness in a way, in a sense, that there's because that which is untrue lies within the world, lies within culture. It's untrue. It's a Maya. In other words, there's an element of something, a darker element within it, of somebody that's not being. There's an element of how can I say? Because it's within me. It's within you. Right now, there's a piece of it within me, and there's a piece of it within you, and then there's the bigger piece that's outside. So it's like a magnet. Let's say culture is like a massive magnet, huge magnet, and we have that magnet that attracts us is also internal. That's also within. So we are drawn to culture, and it draws us together. Because I really feel that without culture, without the collective or the superego, if one wasn't around the superego, then one wouldn't have. They wouldn't have that distraction. They wouldn't have that facility. Yes, they have it inside of themselves, but eventually they would, the authentic individual would override that very, very easily. You see, very easily. If there was no feed coming from the outside, if the individual who's born in a culture or like a tribe where there is no superego, where it's only based on individuality and very little operation of ego, right? It's more based on truth and authenticity and true being, that there would be no nutrition for the internal ego. So the ego would become more redundant. It would take a back step, as opposed to what it's in now is that it's on a full functioning level ego. And so I think, just ending off on this, I think that the internal ego, one's internal battle, right? It's not with the battle out there. So it's the internal battle, right? It really is. For Truman, it was never about fighting Christoph. Okay, it was never about fighting his creator, or not his creator, but the creator of the Truman Show. It was never about that for Truman. Truman was about, I go my own way. I face my own fears, right? One of his biggest fears was his fear of water. I'm going to face my own fears, and I'm going to go my own way, and that's that. And you can continue the show without me. Basically, that was his sentiment. That was his feeling. So Truman had to go within himself and face his own challenges and his own fears in order to leave the Truman Show, in order to leave the collective. And that's what I'm saying, in our own ways, that we don't have control over the Truman Show. We can have influence within it, yes, but that's something else. But we cannot change it. It's not our duty and job to change it. First and foremost. Our duty first and foremost is to overcome our own inner confrontation with our own ego. And again, for myself, it comes down to allowing one's true light to shine, and believing that one has a true light, feeling that one has a true light, a powerful light, a divine light. And therefore, when one has reached that point, then the ego takes a back step, because the ego is put out of business. Not completely, but it takes a back step. As from operating from 90%, now it's gone down to 20%. Functioning. Now it's healthily functioning. It's not, hasn't overtaken. Alright. And so, I'm going to end off on that for now, but I'm just saying the point being is that when you realize how bright your light is, and it's lighter than your darkness, and it's brighter than you can ever imagine, and the source of where your light comes from is so much more profound, that the ego is put out of a job. And the ego is there until you yourself, until the individual is self-actualized, until the individual recognizes the light in their being. That's when the ego, like Christoph says, I have to step back. There's nothing I can do, it's not in my hands anymore. I tried my best, I did my part, I was there, I was a friend, I sedated, I played the mask, I'm saying the ego plays the mask, culture sedated, they did their job. But now their job is over. The ego was there to help us suppress those negative feelings about ourselves so we could get along in culture and society and life and and worship material and status and whatever it is, so we could get that affection, so we can get the self-worth. And that was the ego was doing, because we did need some kind of supply, we needed some kind of nutrition, we needed some kind of attention, affection, and so the ego helped us out there, right? But now again, when you master of your own domain, when you driver of your own ship, you don't need to be on you don't need to be on autopilot. You don't need to be relying on the ego, because now what you're doing is you relying on and you're drawing on true inspiration, true being, true spirit, which again puts the ego right on the back step. Alright folks, so yeah, those are just my thinkings this morning, well now afternoon, of the relationship of the ego, the super ego, and the collective. Alright, we'll chat soon. Take care.